Welcome everybody. We're going to start with a quick introduction to Carte for those of you who are not familiar with us. Thank you very much for joining our first industry speaker series today. And once we're done with that introduction, I'll leave it to Alex Olson, our resident AI/ML expert, to actually run this seminar with our wonderful speaker, Andrea. So for those of you who might not be familiar with Carte, Carte stands for Center for Analytics and AI Engineering. We were founded in 2019 within the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering at U of T. Carte is the hub for analytics and AI translation at U of T's Faculty of Engineering. We basically combine analytics and AI knowledge with sector-specific knowledge. We have 90 faculty members who are affiliated with us from across the various departments and units, and you can see the various departments and units here. Our faculty affiliates apply analytics, AI, and machine learning, ML to a variety of sectors. And on campus, we are housed at the My Hall Center for Engineering, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. So in terms of the team, our director is Professor Tim Chan from MIE. We are guided by a wonderful steering committee. You can see their names and affiliations here, who really guide us through this process. And there are two staff in our team, me, the assistant director, Somaya Sadat, and Alex Olson, our research associate. We have three pillars in our service areas: research, education, and partnership. And I'm going to walk you through each of them individually. So on the research side, the main thing we do is to fund high-impact interdisciplinary research projects. This is open to U of T engineering faculty, so we typically have one round of applications every year, and we fund these projects for 2 years. It's a competitive process where two faculty from two different departments come together, one with sector-specific knowledge, the other with AI and ML knowledge, and they work on a high-impact project. These were the projects that were funded last year for 2 years each. On the education and training pillar, we offer a machine learning bootcamp for our faculty members. Alex runs weekly research drop-in clinics for all students within the Faculty of Engineering, and helps you through experimental design, literature, or technical tools. And we also offer professional training in analytics, AI, and ML to various industry partners. And on partnership, so as I said, we are the hub for industry partnerships around analytics, AI, and ML. There are a variety of partnership models. These include capstone projects. So these are 4-month quick projects by students, or graduate student projects that you could sponsor. We also provide consulting services with our in-house AI/ML expert. Our partners get access to our seminars and professional training, and also can attend our events, which are really good for recruiting talent from the UFT. We also offer desks in our headquarters. Well, this was before COVID-19, but hopefully continue to do that afterwards. And we support you to match funds from government sources. These would be for longer term projects that are at least a year in duration. And if you like to be informed about our future events, just check our website or follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook. You can also email us any questions that you might have. I'm going to stop sharing this presentation and ask Alex to officially start our seminar today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Somaya. And thanks everyone for attending. So I'd like to introduce Andreea Cucu, who is our first professional speaker in this series. Andreea is a software development engineer at Amazon and has previously worked at Google and JP Morgan Chase. At the University of Edinburgh, she worked on their NASA robot and led a number of initiatives to help students develop their technical and personal skills. So Andreea has generously agreed to talk to us about how she developed the professional experience that led her to her current role in university projects, internships, and technical expertise. She'll be talking from the perspective of her own experience and not on behalf of any company. So thanks for taking the time out for us, Andreea.
Thank you for having me. It was nice to learn more about Carte.
Great. So why don't we start with like a brief introduction? So maybe you could talk a little bit about your background, your current position, and maybe a few of your other positions from the past.
Yeah, sure. So as Alex said, my name is Andrea. I graduated from the University of Edinburgh with a bachelor's in computer science. Because of the way my degree was structured, I was able to sort of figure out what I want to focus as I went along in my degree. So I decided to focus mainly on machine learning topics during university and robotics as well. During my university years, I was an active member in like our computer science society. I was also an active member of the UK hackathon scene, and I also had some internships. So I first was a research intern at the University of Edinburgh, where I was doing bioinformatics research. So it was for one of those research competitions for synthetic biology, and where I was working on modeling the dispersion and purity of hard drugs and how they are, how dangerous they could be. Afterwards, I interned at JP Morgan in their anti-money laundering team. So I was working on a system that would help alert on suspicious transactions. It was a very interesting time because it was during Brexit. So obviously, as you can imagine, that kind of triggered a lot of filters. And then the next summer, I interned at Google. I was part of their AdWords team. In AdWords, I was in trust and safety, which is the team that makes sure that all the ads that Google serves you are safe to see. So we don't, Google doesn't want to advertise anything like guns or like drugs or pornography or anything like that. So they have a team that makes software that makes sure that your ads are safe to see. So I was working on developing models for that. And right now I am working at Amazon. I've been with Amazon for about 2 years. And I've worked in 2 different organizations. First, I worked in the devices organization, and I worked on 2 different types of cameras. So one of them was Cloud Cam, which I'm not sure if it's sold in Canada, but we sold it in the US. And then I worked on Ring. Yeah, I'm not sure if it ever made it out of the US. And then I worked on Ring, which is a little bit more popular. And now I've moved into the supply chain team for about a year. And this is where I work on making sure that we deliver your packages in the right time to you.
Great. So I think you answered a little bit about my second question too, which was going to be, what does your job entail? But more on that note, I was also wondering, so obviously a lot of people know the sort of technical skills that are required, but maybe you could talk a little bit about that. And then also some of the non-technical skills that are really important for your role.
Yeah, so actually, as a software engineer, I think I spend maybe like 30% of my time writing code.
Right.
The rest of the time I spend a lot of time thinking about what code to write. So because we're really focused about our customers, so we are developing an internal tool right now, and we want to help like take away some pain from like our data scientists. I spend a lot of time in meetings with them and just understanding what the issues are, so we know exactly where to focus. So obviously a lot of my time goes into that. Then on the more technical side, before I write any code, I spend a lot of time thinking about what the code should look like. And that involves a lot of writing, actually. So back in university, I really hated having to like write all those reports and all those essays, but they were actually really useful because like I think this week I've written maybe 5 documents, and all of them are like 3 or 4 pages long each. So it's really important to learn to understand like how to write properly and how to write in a business context. And that's
is that more technical writing, or is it for a broader audience inside the company?
So both. It depends on where it's going. So if we're writing documents for going upwards, so towards our leadership, then we want that to be a little bit less technical. If we're writing like a technical design doc, like an architecture review, then that'll be very technical, and we're focused on like the actual implementation details.
So good writing skills are important.
They're super important.
It sounds like it must be really important to be well organized as well.
Yeah. Another thing that I do these days is a lot of demos. So as I mentioned before, we work a lot with our customers. So now that we have, a couple months ago, I was having all those meetings to sort of gather requirements and understand what needs to be done. We went back and we worked on it. And now we're doing demos to all of them. So just having like short meetings where I present to them what we have. So I guess speaking skills are really good advantage to have. If you otherwise just like presentation skills, making like a good case for why you should be doing this, and also sometimes have to present towards leadership to just get more buy-in and have them understand why we're spending those resources on what we do.
Absolutely,
what else do I do? Yeah. What else do I do? I think I spend some time reviewing code as well. So that's also important. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Sounds like you do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So obviously your undergrad probably prepared you a lot for the programming, but given that you do so many other things, did you find that there were things in university that prepared you for that? Or was that more from your internships or some of your extracurricular stuff?
So yes and no. Like, as I mentioned before, writing all those reports in university, definitely very helpful. Right. All those all-nighters to write 2,000 words essay just before it was due, totally good experience.
Right.
But I think university gave me like a really good foundation that helps, that kind of sort of helped me build on top of with everything else. So in tech, you can't really know everything, and there's always new things coming out. There's always a new paper that you have to read and you have to like try that out. There's always like a new framework coming out. And one of the things that I believe I learned a lot in university was how to learn on my own. So that's probably the most valuable skill from university, other than the technical skills.
Right.
And then, yeah, also my internships, I think they were a good way to sort of gain experience into how to work with a team. Because, well, yeah, when I went into my first graduate job, I obviously was a little bit shy, didn't really know what to do. But because I had those internships and I've seen other people act, and I knew how they kind of acted in a team and how meetings were supposed to be conducted, that sort of gave me the confidence to start taking action quickly.
Cool. So next, I think we'll talk a little bit about the job hunting process. Maybe we can start by talking about what that was like for your internships, because I know that we have a lot of students who are looking for sort of internship opportunities at the moment. So what did that look like for you? What was your process, and what was very helpful for getting those internships?
So for internships, I think the best thing that you can do is start applying as early as possible. So I think I used to have like a reminder in my calendar to start applying like 31st of August. That's when most of the companies will open their application process, and get your application in as soon as possible. If you haven't gotten your application in, go and do it now, because it's still not too late. There's still lots of companies that have positions, I guess. But for interns, I know that a lot of companies will just have like a set numbers of interns that they want to hire. When they've hired, then they just close the position. So if you wait until like Christmas or like spring, you might not be able to find something. Another tip that I was given when I was hunting for internships and full-time jobs was to interview literally everywhere. And you should start with companies that you don't really want to work for. So this might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but interviewing is like a muscle. So you can do as much lead code as you want, but that's not going to teach you how to like speak through a coding interview. That's not going to teach you how to like explain your reasoning to an interviewer. So start with some companies where you might not necessarily want to work, but because they'll still give you the practice. And it's okay to get a few rejections from companies that you're not very interested in than to get a rejection from like your dream company.
I've definitely had that experience too. I think, you know, at the start of the job interviewing process, you really feel nervous going into every single interview. But by the time you've been doing it for a while, it just kind of becomes the thing that you're currently doing. So you get a lot less nervous and a lot more comfortable as you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there anything you were doing when you applied for internships that you found was really unhelpful or just not worth your time?
Writing cover letters.
Oh yeah.
I think I used to write a lot of cover letters when I was younger, for like my first year of university, because I thought they were super important. But I talked to a lot of recruiters afterwards, and they were like, "Oh, actually, we don't read them. We only spend like 5 minutes on reading cover, like your CV and your whole profile. So if your CV shines out enough, you don't need to write a cover letter." And I think actually most tech companies these days don't require them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
yeah, I think they're sort of realizing that it's not really a useful way to understand a candidate.
Interesting. And then what about at when you graduated or when you were about to graduate? What was your job process like there, and what did you find was really important?
So when you're graduating, so because I had done an internship the summer before, I was sort of expecting a return offer from Google. So what I did was I tried to get all of my application in as soon as possible, just so I could have competing offers when that offer came through. One of the surprises I had when I was looking for full-time jobs was that recruiters would reach out to me on LinkedIn, which didn't happen to me when I was an intern. So when I was looking for internships, I was even messaging people on LinkedIn and nobody really cared about my messages.
Right.
But as a full-time and like looking for full-time positions, I would have recruiters just be like, hey, I see you're looking for full-time positions. Do you want to interview with us?
Wow.
So that was really cool because it gave me the opportunity to like interview with companies I've never even heard about. And also it kind of does a thing where like, if it's a company that you don't really want to work for, but they've reached out to you, there's not really any effort. You don't have to send an application and you don't have to do anything. So it's good practice. I've also had like bigger companies reach out to me on LinkedIn. So I think it's definitely worth keeping a nice profile and just pointing out that you're open to work because it does work.
I guess that's a good reason to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not speaking from Amazon's perspective, but I know that you have done a little bit of hiring while working at Amazon. So I was wondering, personally to you, what do you look for in an applicant that maybe is not obvious to people?
Personally, I would like to see someone who is very excited to learn. So for a graduate, we can't really expect them to be like senior software engineers straight away. So I think for me, the most important thing would be that they're excited to learn and also that it would be easy to teach. So I've mentored interns in the past, and that's sort of the thing that I was looking for when I was doing hiring for those interns. Like, would I like teaching this person or would I not? Would I find it painful? Would it be a waste of my time?
Right.
So that matters. Obviously, technical skills do matter, but we don't expect like senior engineer level of skill. So I don't think there's any company that asks graduate engineers for like system design questions or anything like that.
Okay, so you would say it's more about, being in a position where you're ready to get those skills, even if they're not fine-tuned at the moment.
I think so, yeah.
That's really interesting. So I know that you did a lot of extracurriculars when you were doing your bachelor's degree. And I was wondering, out of all of those extracurriculars, what did you find was most beneficial, most directly helpful when you were applying for jobs?
I'd say hackathons were probably the best thing for me. First of all, they made me super excited about tech. So whenever you go into an interview, I'm like, oh, I spent a whole weekend building this cool thing and learning about this whole new framework from scratch. That already impresses your interviewer.
Yeah.
But other than that, it got my name out there and I got to meet a lot of new people. So I got to meet like sponsors that come and like present challenges in the hackathon, and they're very friendly people. So if you go talk to them and you kind of have like this sort of almost friendship relation, then you can just ask for a referral. So one of the things that I've done when I was looking for full-time jobs was to not go through the application process for companies where I already knew someone in. So if I had met somebody at a hackathon, I had their email, I would just reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm looking for a full-time job. This is my CV. Do you think you could refer me? And most of the time they were very happy to do that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, the contacts and the networking really do pay off. Yeah. And in that sense, you could also, I could say tech conferences I went to were super useful as well.
Right.
So,
yeah. I was going to say, on the topic of hackathons, what would you say? So a lot of our students in engineering are maybe not, they might like be looking to gain experience in CS. So what would you say to them about going to hackathons? Because they might feel like maybe I don't know enough, or, it's not good for me.
Okay, so my first hackathon, I didn't know how to do anything, like absolutely anything. And it was 1 month into my university career. I think I knew how to write a for loop, maybe. That was it. And then I just got on this bus with like these like 3 or 4 guys from university that I had just met. And we went all the way to Birmingham, which is like 6 hours away from Edinburgh. And we sort of just got there, and I felt really bad because I thought I didn't know anything. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to help them. They're going to have all those cool ideas, and then I'm just going to be there being useless. Turns out they also didn't know anything. So we kind of just had fun for the whole weekend. We learned, and there was a lot of mentorship available. So Like all of those sponsors that come here and present their challenges to at hackathons, they're there to help you. So if you are struggling with using their API, or if you're struggling with anything, they're just go and ask them, and they'll just spend the time with you. So I was at a hackathon, maybe my third or fourth hackathon. I still didn't know anything. And I was trying to make a website in JavaScript, and I didn't even know what JavaScript was. And I just had this mentor just sit with me for like 4 hours maybe, and we just kind of gave me like a one-to-one tutorial on how to get a website up and running. So that was super useful.
That's really great. Yeah. Another thing that I would just bring up on the hackathon point, I know that most hackathons are online right now, but normally hackathons will have money to help pay for you to get there. And went from the UK to the US for at least one hackathon, right?
Yeah.
So there's lots
maybe.
of resources available to do things like that if you're interested. Great. I know that we're mostly talking from your experience, but what do you find most exciting about the work that you're doing right now? You gave this overview of like a lot of different kinds of things that you're working on. What do you find most engaging?
Oh, I love this part where I'm doing lots of demos these days, because that's something that I actually consider pursuing as a career. So going to all those hackathons, I would see all those people coming on stage and being like, oh, come use my product, and this is how we do this. And it's called a developer advocate. And the position is basically just talking to communities of developers and trying to get them engaged with your product. I was really excited about that opportunity, and I actually did quite a lot of research into it before I decided to become a software engineer. So I'm very excited. I kind of can incorporate that skill set and also that kind of experience into my day job. So I'm very excited about it. Other than that, I really enjoy that I get to think a lot about the architecture of our products. Mm-hmm. So when I was a little bit more junior, I spent a lot of time just writing code as somebody else told me to write. Right. It wasn't super exciting because I like solving problems, not just like writing code. That's not very fun. So right now in my new team, I get to think a lot about the solutions and not just implement them. So that's fun.
That's really cool.
On that topic, what is the sort of typical career path for us to? What about non-technical roles as well?
So it very much depends on your interest. If you want to just stay a software engineer, then you can just have the standard career path. You'll be a junior engineer, then you go on to be a mid-level engineer, senior engineer, and then eventually you'll be a principal engineer, which is, I think, where it stops, maybe?
Right.
Maybe there's like senior principal. But you can also make the switch into anything else as you go along. So you can switch into product management if you're more interested in that side. You can switch into people management if you like that stuff. I think most importantly, you need to be honest. Once you have a job, you need to be honest with your manager about everything that you might want to try. And you should also just try it out. So I thought I wanted to be a PM for a while. And I told my manager I wanted to be a PM. And she was like, cool, go to these conferences. There are conferences for PMs. Learn what they do, talk to them, see if you like them, and also assign me some PM tasks.
Right.
Turns out it wasn't my thing, but it was really fun that I had that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. So try out different things and sort of get a feel for. And it sounds like you've also sort of alluded to that there's a lot of non-technical opportunities for people with that sort of background, right? So things like the demos that you were talking about, but also other positions like, you could be one of these people who mentors at hackathons and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And even to work on like a technical position, you don't necessarily need a computer science degree. So I've seen lots of very successful senior engineers and very successful like product managers and people managers that came from different backgrounds. So like biology or like engineering or chemistry. I don't really think a computer science background is what's absolutely needed, because everyone can learn that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And on that note, something that we've heard from a lot of students is like they really want to find out about more resources that are available for like jumping into machine learning and AI. And so I was wondering, maybe not like specific resources that are available, but what things would you recommend that people do in their spare time if they're trying to sort of get into that area and that mindset?
So if they're looking for machine learning, I guess the best thing that they could do would be attend one of those summer schools that a lot of universities are organizing, a lot of companies are also organizing, because they kind of take you through like everything that's relevant right now in machine learning, and they have lots of hands-on workshops. Other than if you're not really interested in machine learning, but you still want to get in tech, then I'd recommend just attending workshops organized on your campus or online as well. I know there's a lot of organizations that do workshops a lot. I think Hacktoberfest is going on right now. So Hacktoberfest is a month-long open source festival where they encourage people to contribute to open source repositories with anything, and then you'll get a free t-shirt for participating. And I think one of my friends is running like a live stream where he just mentors people 8 hours a day.
And that's run by GitHub, right?
I think so, yeah. No, cool, it's run by DigitalOcean.
Oh, right. Oh, interesting. Cool. Great. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a really good opportunity for people who want to sort of jump into machine learning and just sort of get their feet wet. Is there also, any? Go ahead,
I just wanted to add, open source contributions can be super scary because you get other people reviewing your code, and if you're not super confident in your skills, then that would be like quite daunting to do. But just keep in mind that your contributions don't have to be anything huge. Like it could just be like fixing some documentation. I think my first open source contribution, I think I removed a line that was like unnecessary. Like I think I removed like a space between a for loop and like the conditions underneath it. So it wasn't anything that was major. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, but it was still a start.
And it sort of gave you the experience of how that whole procedure works.
Yeah. So if you do something that people can't really reject, because like if you're fixing like a tense in a sentence in documentation, they can't reject that, right? So that's a good way to get started and just sort of build out that confidence and also get to know the community.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I've said that to a few people that I think, you know, if you make those open source contributions, it's a great way of sort of getting access to that whole community and to a lot of support and resources that are really valuable.
Yeah.
And then because it's open source, they're always looking for people to help out. So
exactly. Yeah, and open source communities are also very nice for networking because most of them do this in their spare time. So probably in their day job, they work for like nice companies that you might want to get a referral for. Keep that in mind.
So before we open up to questions from the audience, is there any sort of other general advice that you would like to share?
Can't think so. Can't think of anything.
Okay, great. Well, so we're just going to open it up to the audience now. I think if anyone who is watching has a question, we've got the Q&A option along the bottom. So feel free to post any questions that you might have, and we can ask Andrea to answer them. Maybe I'll come up with a question or two in the meantime, just to give people an opportunity to do that. So I know that you also organized a hackathon while you're in your undergrad. So how did you sort of get into that opportunity?
That was fun. So I was, after a year of going to hackathons, I think my first year of university, once I got into the rhythm of it and started enjoying them, I think I spent most of my second semester going to hackathons every weekend, and I got really close with the community. People in Edinburgh were trying to organize their first hackathon here because we didn't have anything like that in Scotland. We always had to travel all the way down to England, and they were usually in south of England. So it involved lots of miserable bus rides. So it was, I got to help out with the first hackathon in Edinburgh a little bit. I think Angus and James were organizing it, and they did an amazing job organizing everything. They didn't have any support from the university because obviously there hadn't been a hackathon in Edinburgh before, so they didn't see the benefit of letting students use like their whole building for an entire weekend, clearing the buildings and everything. Right. So they did a huge job organizing these, and it was amazing, and I really enjoyed it. And then the next year they didn't want to do it anymore because it took a lot of time and they had to focus on their degrees. So they kind of asked me if I wanted to take over it and organize it, and that's how I got into it.
That's really cool.
A great experience.
Would you say that was worthwhile doing?
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
It was a lot of effort for sure.
There's at least one annual hackathon at U of T, possibly more. Can post some links to that afterwards. Okay, well, it doesn't seem like we have any questions from the audience. So maybe we'll just wrap up there. Great, so thank you so much for taking the time to answer the questions. I hope that was really helpful for everyone. I certainly really enjoyed that talk. Definitely made me think a lot about different opportunities and things that you can do. Great, and thanks to the audience for attending. We're gonna try to organize regular industry speakers, and we'll post them to our LinkedIn and our website, and also to our email list. Okay.
Right. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I just want to thank you as well. I learned a lot. It was very interesting. And yeah, hope to see you all again in our next industry speaker seminar series. Have a great long weekend, everybody in Canada.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.